All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you for answering questions. If you would like to go ahead and if you're coming in later and you'd like to answer the questions, please do. It's really nice to know where everyone's coming from. I think it's just personally interesting to kind of see what's going on in different states, if they're doing the hybrid between remote learning and being in the classroom, what that looks like. And then, of course, you know, I think one of the best ways that we can help ourselves is to kind of share our concerns. At least we get some validation that others share the same concerns as us, as well as if you can let us know other topics that you would like to focus on. We can definitely be thinking about those as we develop more webinars. So to, one second, why isn't it? Sorry guys, I'm trying to figure out why I'm not advancing to the next screen here. All right, well, I'm going to figure that out in just a second, but I'll go ahead and take this opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Jill Wichern. I am a special educator. I have been in education for 10 years now. I have worked with students in the elementary school setting from kindergarten all the way through 5th grade. And I have worked ever since college in the developmental disability field. I've worked with children and adults. I've worked with them in the home setting, in the school setting as a teacher, and then also in community settings, job support, that sort of thing. And I do have 2 children of my own. I have an 11-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old son. So I have can definitely relate to what you guys are saying as far as concerns, just all the changes. And then I have a child who's going to be going into high school with remote learning, and a child who's going to be going into middle school with remote learning. So definitely feel you guys that this is just a lot going on right now. All right, let's see if we can get these slides to advance. And it's not. So I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second and see if I can figure out what's going on here.
Maybe you can try just exiting out and just.
You mean leave the Zoom?
Oh no, sorry, the PowerPoint presentation, and then just like trying to.
Okay, I can, for whatever reason, yeah, let's see. Okay, so can you see it now, Morgan?
No, share your screen again.
Let's see, I thought it was. Okay, let's see. Technical difficulties. All right, let's see. I'm gonna share my screen and we'll do Zoom, but then I'm going back to my webinar. All right.
And then slide.
All right. Are you seeing it now?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So we are going to talk today about social skills, specifically how you can work on these at home. These are strategies that you can work on anywhere. And when I say at home, I'm thinking about really from a parent perspective. And when I say parent, I mean any caregiver. So this could be mom, dad, older siblings, grandparents, extended family, family friends, whoever. The more practice with social skills, the better. And definitely working on these, you know, out in the community as well. So if you Google social skills, you get so many answers as to what social skills are. Basically, it's your verbal communication. So it's your, you know, ability to have conversations and interact with other people. It's your nonverbal communication, the things that you are saying when you're saying nothing at all. So you're thinking about, you know, body language, gestures, those sorts of things. And then it's your skills that are necessary for you to just, in general, be able to interact and to function in social settings. So all of those skills that you need to be able to resolve conflicts or ask for help or tell things that you need in any situation. So you're thinking about, you know, out in the real world, you know, you're at dinner, being able to order your own food, being able to handle if there is an issue with your food, knowing how to properly, politely handle that without just suffering and eating food that's not what you're supposed to have, or handling it in a way that's inappropriate. And just being able to go out and do whatever you need to do to be able to participate in the world. So when we think about communication, so thinking about the piece of having conversation with others, there's two pieces to that. There's receptive language and there's expressive language. So I want to explain the difference between those. With expressive language, that's your ability to be able to communicate with others, and that's your nonverbal as well as your verbal piece. So you're thinking about that as your output. This is what's coming out of your mouth, what's coming out of your body when you're like me and you're talking with your hands. What information are you sharing? And then your receptive language is your ability to understand and comprehend the words and the language. So that's kind of your input. That's your ability to be able to take in what is being shared from other people and in the world around you. And I think that it's really important to understand that, because we have kids who have, excuse me one second. So sorry. We have kids who have difficulty engaging in conversations. And it really helps us to kind of tease out what's going on so we know how to address that and how to support the child. It may be that they're poor at answering questions. There are a lot of children who have ADHD, who are on the spectrum, that have difficulty answering questions, particularly those WH questions, those who, what, when, where, why, how. And I think what we've seen is that it really helps to figure out why. If it's that they're having difficulty with the receptive language piece, that means I asked them the question and they didn't get it. There was a lot of words. The words came through to them in a different order. It just didn't enter the brain in the way that we would want. So you have to know how to break down what you're saying using less words, trying to pair it with visuals, just simple things. One thing that I always do with my students when I ask a why question, and I can see that they're struggling, I always shrug my shoulders. I'm like, but why? And saying it in an animated, but why? Saying it in an animated way, I think helps. And then, it may be an issue of the expressive language. So we got it in the brain. We understood what the question is, but now we're trying to get that brain and mouth to communicate together to be able to give an answer that in a way that makes sense. And certainly if a child is having difficulty with staying focused during conversation, then that can impact their ability as well. I see that sometimes, you ask a question about X and you get an answer about Y, which was not what you were asking. But really being able to tease out if they're having difficulty with expressive language or receptive language or both helps you to kind of know how to approach the problem. For a student that's having difficulty with expressive language, giving them a sentence starter, helping them start the reply using the words in the question. So if you say something easy, what is your name? They're struggling with that. Giving them the words, feeding them that sentence starter, saying my name is, and then having them repeat that and then tack on their name. So now I'm getting ready to launch a poll, which I have not done before. Hopefully we won't have any more technical issues, but we're going to do a poll here. And I want to find out, what areas of conversational skills you feel like that your child struggles with most. So we have initiating the conversation. So that's actually beginning the conversation, saying hi, introducing themselves. We're starting a conversation with someone they already know about a topic. Responding to questions and comments correctly. Again, that could be answering on topic. It could be also that following directions piece, because that's responding to a comment. When you say, I need you to go make up your bed, pick up the clothes out of your floor, and let the dog out. Are all of those things able to happen? Engaging in that reciprocal conversation, so being able to exchange back and forth and carry on the conversation that doesn't end when one question's answered and they're not able to ask a follow-up question to keep the conversation going. This is one I know that we see, especially with some of our students that are on the spectrum, kind of perseverating on a preferred topic. So they're really interested in trains, or they're really interested in vehicles, and not being able to move from that topic and talk about other things, especially when they're seeing those nonverbal cues that their peers or other adults may be losing interest in the conversation. Or something else. If you pick other, pop on the chat and let us know what other is. All right, let's see. I'm going to pull up this poll for us. I am launching it. All right. Let's go ahead and chime in and let us know what you think. Responding to questions and comments correctly was coming in fast as a heavy hitter. Reciprocal conversation. Perseverating. Let's see. And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to check the chat real quick and see. Let's see. I see some more chats about the school year. See DB. I see someone said A to D. I feel ya. B and D. B most of all, but mine struggles with B, C, and D. Mm-hmm. All right, looks like about 63% of you guys have voted, so I'll give you a couple more minutes, or I guess, yeah, and give you a couple more minutes to think about that. I am surprised no one has put initiating conversation. And I guess with that, you can also think about initiating conversation appropriately. I know that some of our kids are really great about initiating conversation, but they may get in other people's personal space, or initiate conversation when it's not really appropriate. So those are some other things to think about. Tapping people to start a conversation. I know over the years I've had some students that like to tap me wherever was easy access on my body to start a conversation. All right, we're about 70% voted. Give us a few more minutes, a couple minutes. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end polling for this. And let's take a look at the chat. I know I'm going to share these results with you. So as you can see, we have that, looks like one person voted for the initiating conversation. We had 41% people. Oh, we have a tie here between responding to questions and comments correctly, i.e. being able to follow directions, and engaging in reciprocal conversation, kind of neck and neck for that first place. Perseverating on a preferred topic despite nonverbal cues, that's at 14%, and no other. So it looks like I kind of covered that with my choices. All right, and let's see, I was going to take a look at the chat. I know we had some people popping in, and people were saying that they really wanted to pick more than one, which I can understand. Initiating conversation at inappropriate times, accurately expressing themselves, that's true. I know that we have some students that can express their feelings, but it's not in an appropriate way. Seeing kind of B and C together, B, C, and D, B and D, B, all of them, B, D. Anxiety being caused by being asked to communicate. Yes, and I think something that I have seen too is that I have had some students over the years who you know, have autism. They're pretty high functioning on the spectrum, but they're also on top of that shy. So I have worked on social skills with them and getting them to participate in the classroom setting, and you know, and worked on them having conversations with friends, and the conversations with friends has come along, but that whole piece of raising their hand to answer questions in class is just kind of an area of shutdown, because that's where it's just too much. That's where that the autism and the shyness just come head to head, and it's like, okay, that's just too much. So I definitely know that that can cause some anxiety. All right. Oh no, am I not going to be able to advance to on my slide again? What in the world? Okay. Let's see, what if I do escape? Sorry guys for the technical issues. 1 second. All right, what did I do before to get this to work? Okay, let's see. I'm just going to jump here and all right. Hopefully that works. We just jumped and went to the next slide. Okay, so the next section that I wanted to talk about was nonverbal communication. So again, that is those pieces of communication that happen even when we're saying nothing at all. They can certainly happen while we're talking, but it can happen when we are not talking. So that's our facial expressions, you know, all those cues that we have that show how we're feeling, whether we're happy, sad, mad, frustrated. Well, frustrated here. If we are unhappy, if we are anxious about things, that's where those facial expressions come in. Our gestures, so that's, again, I think an area that can really help our kids who are on the spectrum and who have a harder time because of ADHD or just being children, having a harder time focusing on conversations, using gestures to help kind of draw their attention back in, I think helps a lot. Body language, so how you're sitting, you know, that typical, are the arms crossed? Does the body look open? Do we look approachable? Are we sitting with our arms folded? And a lot of times our kids are pretty good at recognizing those. I've noticed over the years that we can teach them to recognize those things, but they may not necessarily use that information to make a decision. For example, I see mom, she's upset with me, she's standing there, she's tapping her foot, her arms are folded, but I'm still going to go ask her for an ice cream cone. So not getting that this may not be the appropriate time and I may not be able to get the answer that I want. Tone of voice. So, you know, how loud our voice is, how fast we're speaking, you know, are going to give clues as to how we're feeling and how we are expressing our feelings. Eye contact. And I want to put a caveat in here. I know, especially for our kids with autism, eye contact is very difficult. I, as a teacher, try to tell my kids where to put their eyes. I do not tell my kids to look at me because that can be very intimidating for them and very difficult. So if I'm teaching and I am, you know, showing my kids material, then I'm like, I need your eyes here, so they know where to look. Or I will say, I need you to look towards me. I know I've heard other people suggest talking about asking the kids to just look between the eyebrows. So looking a little above the eyes, but that way you're approximating eye contact. But I think that that's something that should not be pushed on kids who have difficulty with eye contact, whether it's because of being on the spectrum or being shy, that we help them figure out where their eyes should go to help them, but not keep saying, look at me, look at me, look at me, because that is going to produce that anxiety for communication. And then our posture. Again, are we slouching? Are we sitting up? You see this a lot in the classroom. Looking at posture tells me right away whether or not students are ready to learn. But all of these are the facets of nonverbal communication that communicate to whoever you're speaking with how you're feeling, how you're interpreting this conversation, and whether or not you're a willing participant. The next thing that I want to talk about is social skills deficits. So these are the areas where you tend to see issues for students. So the first is basic communication skills, which again is that being able to answer questions, being able to start a conversation, just basic communication, being able to communicate their wants and their needs. The next is empathy and rapport. So you're looking at their ability to have sympathy and understanding for others, being able to put themselves in others' shoes. So again, thinking about I look at Susie. Susie looks really sad. I know Susie's dog ran away yesterday. You know, Susie is feeling really bad. I'm not going to go try to talk to Susie about my dog right now because that'll make her more sad. And then your rapport skills. So your ability to develop relationships with others and be able to facilitate that teamwork that we want between our children. That's so important as we get to be adults and we're in the working world. Interpersonal skills, so that is your ability to have relationships with others and you know, kind of all those characteristics that you need to be a good friend and to know how to communicate well with others. And I think a piece of that is also being able to know how to communicate well in writing. That's kind of a whole nother level, but being able to know how to send an email and make sure that the tone comes across okay and that it will be well received and that whoever reads it understands your concerns or whatever, but understands that it's just the information and there's no innuendo there. There's no implied anything that may cause friction in the relationship. And then the problem solving skills and accountability. So being able to figure out how to resolve conflict with their peers, with teachers, you know, if there's a misunderstanding with a teacher or with adults out in the community, and then being able to be accountable for their actions, which, you know, is that being able to say, I'm sorry, and I shouldn't have done that, and this is how I'm going to do better next time. And again, these skills, you know, they kind of develop in this order, starting with basic communication skills on down to problem solving, accountability as children develop and get older. And I think that's one thing that we need to keep in mind too, is that no child has perfect social skills. I can attest to that. Making sure that we are being fair to our children in our expectations for them based on their age and their developmental level. And understanding that even for typically developing children, these skills develop at different rates. There is a range and they just need practice. And I think that that is one reason that this was such an important webinar for me to put out for you guys, is because we are going to have less opportunities. Those of us who are engaging in remote learning this year, we're going to have less opportunities for our children to have that face-to-face interaction with their peers at school, with their teachers, and out in the community, because I know a lot of us aren't going out as much, don't have as many places to go out to. So that's why I want us to have these things that we can work on at home to kind of keep that momentum going and keep kids learning, because this is how it's going to be for a little bit. And so we don't want to lose time on our academics, and we certainly don't want to lose time towards social skills. So next we have another poll. So this is just kind of a fun one too. So as an adult, so thinking about yourself, which area of social skills you find most difficult for yourself. And I am agreeing with you guys. I know some of you for your children picked more than one. I think I could pick more than one for myself, certainly. And I think it depends on the day, and it depends on who the interaction is with. I think if it's my husband, it's probably E. It's so hard to apologize and be like, I was wrong. You don't want to do that with your husband, but you know, it depends on the setting. But anyway, if you would please pick, we have initiating conversations, so just striking up conversations with new people, remembering names or details, making small talk, conflict resolution, and then apologizing, that it's taking accountability for actions. So let's go ahead and launch this. Let's see. I don't want to do, whoop, I relaunched the same one. Hang on. Let's see. Go to the next question. Okay, well, it looks like some of you guys are voting again. I am going to end polling though. I've got to figure out how to get to my second question. Let's see. Right here. There we go. Perfect. All right. Here we go. All right, you guys go ahead and vote. I'll give you a couple minutes. All right, so it looks like about 77% of you guys have voted so far, 75, 78. So I'll give you another minute or so. It looks like right now that our front runner is remembering names and details. That can definitely be tough. I know sometimes myself, I'm guilty of meeting somebody, them being introduced, and then a minute later, I realized that I did not pay attention and get their name. So tough. Especially when there's a lot going on. If you do have your children with you and you're meeting someone new, remembering a name. Whew. All right, looks like we're about 82% have voted. Give you a few more seconds and then we'll go ahead and end this. All right, I'm gonna end this so you guys can see the results. I think somebody just voted the last second. Glad you got in. All right, so I'm gonna share these results. So yes, remembering names and details did come in first. Initiating conversation, making small talk, conflict resolution, looks like they all tied for second place. And then apologizing came in at the end. All right. Thank you for sharing those. Let's see, I'll take a look at the chat, see if anybody chatted anything that they wanted to share about that. No. Okay. All right, so I need to switch to my next slide. Let's cross our fingers and toes that this goes the way it's supposed to. So far, it hasn't anytime I've done a poll, but we're going to think positively. So send me good juju. And it's not working. So give me 1 second. Let's see. Oops.
I think Mercury is still in retrograde.
I think so. I don't know, for whatever reason. Okay, so before we start this next slide, I wanted to take this opportunity to chat with you a little bit, just kind of mom to mom, mom to dad, mom to grandma, mom to grandpa, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, cousins, whoever's here, you're all welcome, and let you know that we have all had opportunities where our children have absolutely mortified us out in public. If this has not happened to you yet, then it's coming. Prepare yourself. And you guys are welcome to chat in. I will share a couple stories with you guys because I think it's really good for us to communicate with each other, especially with everything going on right now, and understand you are not alone. We are not alone in the frustrations with remote learning and social distancing, and we're not alone in the struggles and the triumphs and the things that happen in parenting that you just have to laugh. It happens to everybody. I have found over the years that sharing these stories with my friends, everybody has stories, and it just makes you feel really good. So I think this is a good opportunity for everyone to get a laugh, and we are laughing with each other, not at each other. So feel free to laugh at my stories. But both of my children have humiliated me out in public. My daughter was about 1.5 years old, and she had a doll that was solid plastic that we would take to the pool. We had not taught my daughter anatomical terms, but on her own, she named her doll Gina. So we were at a public pool, We were in the kiddie pool, which was only, I think it was maybe 18 inches deep. I don't know. It was not even up to her knees. So I'm at one end, she's at the other. I'm watching her, eye contact, but she'd walked across. I'm, watching her, monitoring her. And she yells across the pool at me, "Mommy, bring me my Gina." So I put my head down in shame for a second, picked up the doll, and I said, "Your baby doll, Gina?" and brought it to her. So that was my daughter. My son could not say, he was very into trains, into Thomas the Trains. He was about 2 years old, and he had a Thomas and a Percy, but he could not say their names correctly. So they were Penis and Pussy. So he had these two trains out at a restaurant, and he was alternating, stacking them on top of each other, yelling to me very excitedly about how one was on top of the other. So I also very loudly corrected him, like agreed with him, but say the names correctly and said, "Yes, Thomas is on top of Percy. Percy is on top of Thomas." So personally, we've been there. It's, we all have those moments where it's very embarrassing. I know that a friend of mine, her son is on the spectrum. They were in an elevator at a hotel at the beach years ago, and more people were getting on the elevator. So my friend backed up towards my son, brushed against him, and he, being on the spectrum, took that the wrong way, mistook what had happened, and he jumped back and yelled, "No, I won't have sex with you." And so my friend was on the elevator with all these people, and her son yells that at her, and all she had done was back up towards him. So we have all had those moments where we have been completely embarrassed by our children. So you are not alone. I don't think anybody shared any stories here. No. Okay. All right. We want to be shy. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the strategies to address these deficits. So the first one is talking through the process. So that metacognition piece. So that's thinking about thinking. So having saying the thoughts that are going through your head when you're problem solving, when you're having a conversation, saying them out loud. So talking through, this is what's happening, this is what I'm going to do to handle this situation. So I think I'd shared in my blog this week, if you're having a conversation with someone else in your household and there's miscommunication or whatever, kind of pulling your other child over, bringing them in and saying, "Okay, so Bobby said, this to me, and I thought he told me no, he wouldn't clean his room. So I said this back, and now we're going to stop and we're going to talk through what's going on. Like, we're not going to raise our voices. We're going to come back and we're going to ask questions. I'm going to ask this question: what do you mean you won't clean your room?" Then Bobby answers, "I didn't say I wouldn't clean my room." So we're going to have this conversation back and forth to figure things out. So again, just talking through what's naturally happening in your brain to work with your child to help them start to put that process together. For kids, that does not necessarily come naturally, and they have to learn how to stop and take a moment and kind of put those pieces together. And now my slide's not working again. Okay, 1 second. And it's not letting me escape either. What in the world? Let's see. Okay. So sorry. All right. Let's try this again. All right. And then modeling, which again is that piece of having the conversation and showing them, okay, so I'm going to have this conversation with Bobby. He's taken a toy that I wanted to play with. I'm going to talk through how to get my toy back in an appropriate way. So showing them, okay, so I am you. I say you took my toy. Bobby says, "I want it." And then this is what I'm going to say back. So having that conversation for them, having that dialogue, showing them what to do and what to say. And then having them role play. So turning that around and saying, okay, now I'm going to be Bobby and you're going to be yourself. I'm taking your toy. What do you do? What do you say? And talking them through that again. And again, if they're not able to completely do that on their own, giving them those sentence starters, giving them the words to start their sentence to be able to appropriately respond back. And then watching short videos. There are some great things online, which we'll talk about soon, or even putting on the TV and muting it and looking at, some of those shows that are kind of based off of like 90s shows that we watched back in the day, like Fuller House and things like that. Just those, those kids shows where they have a lot of activity going on, a lot of opportunities for things to be misinterpreted. Pausing, putting that on mute and then pausing it and talking about, okay, what do you see on this person's face? How do you think they're feeling? Why do you think they feel that way? What could they say? To ask for help, then starting the show back, letting it go a little bit more, pausing it again. Okay, how does the person look like? How do they look like they're feeling, the person who's reacting to them? Are they saying the right things? What else could they say? That kind of thing, really using TV shows to help teach social skills because it's a way to be on the outside and see in for our kids. And then playing cooperative and competitive games. Playing games is something that children do with their peers, and it is a way for them to, if it's a cooperative game, to learn how to work together, and then to learn how to be a gracious winner as well as a gracious loser. And we'll talk about that more on another slide. And then social skills groups. So getting kids together, whether that's in person or virtually, to work directly on teaching social skills. All right. So with the metacognition piece, again, you're talking through your thoughts about this situation and how to best respond to it. So I know this is what's going on. And even saying, I feel like I want to yell, but if I yell, that's not going to help the situation. So I'm going to tell myself, that's not a good idea. What should I'm going to stop and think some more. What should I do that will help me in this situation? Coming up with more than one idea. So, okay, I could do this or I could do that. Which one is going to be the best? That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to yell in this circumstance because that's just going to get me in trouble with mom. And I'm not going to get my toy back. Talking through how others may react to your response. So again, this would not be a good way to handle this because mom will get mad at me, or if I yell, my little sister may cry. And then also, as an adult, we do not do things perfectly. No one should expect us to. We are all human. So in the moment, if you handle something incorrectly, talking with your child about it as age appropriate. Certainly being a parent, there are times when I am frustrated with my own children and I do not respond correctly. So going back and saying, you know what, when I told you that you couldn't play video games for an entire week, that was a bit too much. That was not an appropriate response. We need to talk this through more. You do need to play less video games. We're going to come up with some parameters on that. Again, showing them, teaching, that's how we're going to teach them that piece, to be accountable, to take responsibility for our actions, and to see that we have to extend grace to others and understand that we are not all going to handle things correctly, because that's not life. All right, and then for modeling. So again, this is having the opportunity to see someone else do it for you, to show you what to do and what to say. That can, again, be done in person. That can be done anywhere. You can think about as it comes up, work on these things as they come up naturally throughout your day, whether you're at home, you're at the grocery store, you're out playing with friends, whatever, but being able to step in and teach those skills. And then also social stories. Those are stories that are written specifically to teach in very basic terms how to handle different circumstances. Again, those are great. I love social stories. It's not a one-time thing with any of this for our kids, especially when they have autism or ADHD or just are slower developing. They're going to need repetition. They're going to need a lot of practice. And so reading a social story one time is not necessarily going to work. Just reading the social story is also not necessarily going to work. I like to read the social story and then also talk about it. How does that social story relate to exactly what happened to me? And how can I use what I learned in the social story to think about next time? And then video modeling. And there are some great videos for that. Model Me Kids is a series of videos. It's there's a picture of it up here at the top, and they have live children actually acting out different scenarios to show how to respond in different situations. I have used those. They're great. Everyday Kids is something that I have stumbled across. I haven't used it, but it looks like it might be something worth definitely taking a look at. The Social Express as well, not something that I've used, but looked pretty interesting. I know there's some great videos on YouTube. Sometimes I just Google for a certain circumstance that I would like to address with a child. And lots of times there's a video that has been created for it on YouTube that I'm able to, preview before I share with the child just to make sure, and then share them with that as well. Wonder Grove Kids, there are these little kids up here at the beginning. Again, you can Google them, their videos, they're online, they're free. They're great. They work on things like raising your hand, standing in line, asking for help, that sort of thing. And then we had already discussed the TV shows, the muting it, pausing it, and discussing. All right, and then the next point is, I think I've mentioned this before, this is going to take a lot of practice. Again, the children are not going to get these skills right away. It is going to take practice. We want to tell our child what to say or do. We want to make sure they practice the correct response. So if Johnny, and I know this happens sometimes, I've had some students like this, that you tell them what they need to say and then they decide they want to be funny and they say the complete opposite. So going back and saying, okay, haha, that was funny. So now we're going to do it the right way. We have to practice it the right way, because that's how you get that repetition. You get that kind of start programming into your brain that these are the words that we want to use. So making sure that what they're practicing is actually correct. And again, but it's developmentally appropriate. So maybe they don't say every single word that you said, but they basically, to the best of their ability in their own words, apologize or whatever they need to say for that situation. And then generalization does not come naturally. Practice in different settings with different people. This is what I call the Vegas effect. The whole thing of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas happens in the classroom all the time. I run into that with my students. I'm teaching math. I have been teaching them, how to solve word problems. I teach them a strategy. We've practiced it for days because it takes that repetition piece. And then one day they're like, oh, that makes sense. And I'm like, great, like they know how to do it. And then they go back in their regular education classroom and they take a test and they didn't use the strategy. And I have literally had children tell me, I didn't know I could do that. And I'm like, sweetheart, it's in your brain. I'm teaching you to put this in your brain. So you take it with you and you use it wherever. So making sure that we're clear and intentional with the kids that this is what you say in this situation. You step on someone's foot by accident, you apologize. Automatically, you apologize. You hurt them. You didn't mean to, but you always apologize. So they know, and you say, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. So again, just practicing different settings, different people, as it comes up to get that generalization piece that they know to carry this response to different situations. And again, application takes many repetitions. Just because they can do it at home does not mean that it's necessarily going to carry over into the classroom, or vice versa. So again, practice, practice, practice. And then for social groups, you can set up homogeneous groups. So those are groups that are similar interests or ages or skills. So you're looking at trying to group your child with other children who have very similar interests, you know, whether that's video games, particular sport, particular toy that they like to play with, dinosaurs, trains, or based on their age. Or you could think about it as specifically skills that they need to improve. You know, Johnny has a couple friends and I know that they need to work on sharing. So we're going to have a social group with them and we're going to specifically work on sharing. So everyone's going to come and bring one of their favorite toys and they are going to work on playing together and sharing those toys with each other. And then you can also do heterogeneous groups. So you can mix that up based on different kids have different skills that they need to work on to improve, but this allows them to kind of get that peer modeling and kind of learn from each other. Well, Bobby's great at sharing, so he's gonna model for my child. When my child says, hey, can I play with your toy, he's gonna say yes, but then my child is gonna help him with working on initiating conversation, that kind of thing. And then having, you can also have a larger age range if you want. And then complementary interests. So if you're trying to work on that perseveration piece, having kids who have really similar interests may not be as good. So it may be good to look at trying to broaden the types of interest levels out there to see if you can get your child to kind of jump ship and talk about different topics. And again, these can be done in person or virtual. I know, you know, with COVID right now, in person is not always the safest choice, or it's just not an option. So, you know, looking at that as doing it in person or doing it online. And that can be something that you find through a group in your area, through, you know, the Autism Society or another group like that, or setting it up yourself, you know, getting together with some of your other parent friends and kind of coming up with your own group. We're going to get the kids together for a play day. It's great. The kids get to hang out together, but in that time, we're also going to work on these skills that we know that our children need. And then games. Most importantly, with this, you want to make it fun. I would not recommend saying to your child, okay, so now we're going to work on social skills, and making it a set structured thing, because they're not going to buy into it. And again, they're going to have to buy in to respond to this the way that we would like. So games are a great way. They want to have fun. You'll enjoy it more if you can make it fun. So traditional games can be used to work on social skills you can work on turn taking. Again, you can also work on winning and losing. And I think that's really important. I know when our children are really young, we start off, and I know I did too, start off with letting your child win, but then when they get to that age where they're going to want to start playing games with friends, starting to have opportunities where whatever happens, and talking them through that and showing them, hey, look, I lost the last game. Did I yell? Did I cry? Did I get mad? Did I walk off? Did I throw the game? No, I did not. So we're going to play again. And if you lose, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle that? What can you do that will let you express your feelings, but that you can still be a good friend, be a good brother, a good sister, and continue to play the game. So kind of talking that piece through as well. So again, that's your competitive games. You're teaching them how to win and lose gracefully. With your cooperative games, you're teaching them how to work together towards a common goal, which is great, knowing that a lot of, ultimately, when you're in the workplace, we are all working together. We are all on the same team. We do all have the same common goal, and we need to know how to work well together. And that's a big piece of what we're teaching at school. That's going to be a big piece that if you are homeschooling or remote schooling this year, that you're not going to have as much of. So finding ways to build that into your day through playing games or working together on things around the house. There are some great social skills specific games. I personally have used the Socially Speaking game, and it's great. It's available through Amazon. That's where I got it. The kids really enjoyed that. I have used a book as well. but they really liked the game. They really prefer that. They really prefer that type of interaction. Emotional bingo. So if you need to work on your child being able to recognize facial expressions, there are things you can Google online that have bingo game boards that you can print off, and you can play actual emotional bingo to learn what emotions look like. You can look at the pictures of the people on the board and talk about how you know that they're happy or how they're sad. You know, I'm looking at their face, I can see that their mouth is going down, their eyebrows are going down, their head is down, their eyes are looking down, so I know that they're sad. And then structured play. So coming up with ways within the play that your child is already doing to incorporate working on social skills and turn taking. So again, you know, your child's having a play date, taking part of that time to kind of pop in and work with them on sharing, for example. And then we have another poll. So and this is the last poll for us. It's what time would you prefer to begin in August for our webinars? These are Eastern Standard Time. So we have 4, we have 5, 6, or 7. So I'm going to launch that. And then I'm going to take a look in the chat. I see some more things have popped up. So hopefully we've got some funny stories here. Let's see. So I'm going to relaunch. And we're going to go to, nope, I did it wrong again. Why isn't it letting me? Hang on. Where did I?
You'll end the poll.
What's that?
You'll end the poll. There's like a.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
So, and then I'd go to relaunch, and then I should click up here. Where was it? It just goes right into it. Hang on. I did this before.
I'm seeing the second one again. Oh, there you go.
No, because that's the second one. So then I'm going to go to, there we go. That's what I was trying to do. Okay. All right. So we've launched the polling for that, for you guys to vote for your preferred time. Let's take a look at the chat. So I see that Social Express is good. It's $20 a month. Yeah, so that might be something to think about just for a short-term investment, something to try out for a month or two. Oh, we got a story here. My son embarrassed me in Target. A cashier had a visible case of psoriasis. My son very loudly asked what was wrong with his face and never went back to that Target location after that. Oh my goodness. You know what? After a few months, you should be fine, right? They're not going to remember. You can't never go back to that location. We've all been there. All right, let's see. We've got 75% voted. I'll give you guys a couple more seconds. My son at 2 years old saw a man in a wheelchair and said, "Look, mommy, a motorcycle," super loud. You guys' stories are a lot more tame than mine. I feel like mine was completely mortifying. If I could have been swallowed up by the floor, if that was an option, I would have done it. All right, so it looks like we have 78% have voted, and I will share the results with you. So it looks like right now, 4 o'clock is in the lead with 59%. And then it looks like if we're going to wait until later, 7 o'clock would be a second best option. So we'll definitely keep that in mind for our August themes. All right, and then I have another slide, which probably won't advance to. So give me 1 second. Let me. At least now I know the trick to make it go. Okay, so do you guys we are finished up here. I really enjoyed chatting with you guys today. If you have any questions, any comments, please drop them in the chat box so we can talk for a few more minutes about any of that. Again, you guys have been great today. I really appreciate you sharing with us about your situation as far as your child and their schooling. We're kind of, I think, all in the same boat. A lot of us, even if we know what's going to happen, even as a teacher, I'm not 100% sure that that what they say it's going to be is what it's going to be. I know that, you know, for lots of us, there is that possibility that at some point we could be back in a shelter at home situation. So we could definitely see some changes there. My son asked a man if he was going to have a baby. I had to explain later that some men have bellies. He later asked my daughter, was she fat like that man? You know what? People need to be aware and understanding of kids. They don't know what they don't know, and it's all innocent. I have had some students say some things to me over the years that were pretty funny. I've had some embarrassed parents, and I've shared it with them. I'm like, no, I think it's funny. It's all good. Thank you, Donna. Any other questions or answers or comments? I mean, well, thank you guys again very much. I guess that will be it for us. Good luck with everything. Please keep in touch with us. And if you do have any ideas for discussions that you'd like to have on future webinars, please reach out to Revive and email and share those with us. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.